So, welcome to our third episode of a Health Coaches Book Club. We are reading The Essentialist by Greg McKeown. So, what we covered in the thanks Nayos for the show and tell. What we covered in the first two episodes was first one was about the introduction of the book, The Essentialist. What does that actually mean, and how it is kind of how we as health coaches see that mindset. That was the first episode. And the second one, we covered, the core mindset of an essentialist, which was summarized very nicely by Greg in 3 sections, which was there's something called choice, where choice is an action that you take versus the options that are available out to you. So what do you choose? And in every situation, you have the power to choose. That's one thing. Second is the noise, where you say, where you're saying no to a lot of things. So you're brave enough and courageous enough to say no to a lot of things. And the third is there are always trade-offs, because when you say yes to something, you are saying no to a lot of other things. And when you think that you can do it all, that becomes the mindset of a non-essentialist. So knowing these 3 things, choice, noise, and trade-off, was basically the core mindset of an essentialist. And towards the end of our discussion in episode 2, we were wondering, what is this thing where he's saying trade-offs, which problem do I want? And then Rajiv had a point of view and I had a point of view. So we went and wrote back to Greg, and surprise, he responded. So we were quite happy that, he takes his readers seriously, readers' questions. So his point of view was that basically he said, if you choose something, there will be problems around that. Do you want to sign up for that? Or when you say no to certain things, you're going to have problem after that. So which problem do you want? But the way we saw it was, we found the word problem a bit of a negative connotation, right? So we could probably think of like which challenges you want to opt in. Maybe that could be, or what's more important to us to handle right now. So that would be more of a coaching way of looking at things, I think. So from there, I want to hand it to Rajiv to just summarize what we will be talking about today in part 2 of the book, Explore.
Thank you, Anju. So it was fascinating to see that Greg responded to our question. So he took the question seriously, and we appreciate that. And like Anju said, so in previous discussion, there was a point probably. I hope our viewers are reading this book by now, hearing from us and the interest that we have displayed in our conversation. So there was a chapter we went through, which is about discerning, the ability to discern, the ability of discerning things. So this particular chapter that we'll be going through today is about exploring, and it's about this chapter, Explore, this part named as Explore, is actually the way how we are going to discern. So author did not just say that we need to discern. He took initiative or step to make it easier for us, to show us what are the few steps that we could take, or what are the aspects of life that we can pay attention to, so that we should, if we do those things, then we should be able to discern, the options, the choices, the opportunities, or sometimes
even
temptations.
The noises, right? Even the noises.
And the noises, yeah, and the noises that are hitting us on our face every awakened time that we have. So this chapter, Explore, is more about how to discern. And we'll go through a couple of aspects that the author highlighted, and there should be some others as well. And these are, in this chapter, he talked about escape, how to escape from our, what we do, and do what, and during our that space when we are escaped, how to look at things, how to play, how to sleep and rest, and how to select. And that is something heavy. To me, that part of selection, we will talk about that, and I'm sure you will enjoy our conversation. So that's more about what we are going to discuss in this part of the book.
Yeah. So can we maybe ask Nayos to speak a bit about escape and look?
Yeah, sure. So in the chapter Escape, it talks about creating that space so you can think. You actually think, right? Because I think most of us, I mean myself included, that we're going through our day dealing with one item after another item, after another item, after another item. We don't really set aside space. Most of us don't. I know some of you out there probably do, but I didn't. It just reacted from one thing to another. And you have some free time. What do? Maybe you watch some TV. But your mind is always occupied doing something. So in the escape part, it talks about shutting everything off, being away from everything, so you can sit there by yourself with your thoughts and just actually let that kind of run. And that's when you can kind of discover what is truly important to you, what is not important to you. So creating that space, allowing that to happen. That's escape. And in the chapter Look, it talks about being able to see, look at what really matters, being able to take in everything. And for example, I like the example they gave about, I think it was a journalism class or something like that.
Yeah.
It was talking about how to write headlines, right? So we talk about the principal and the teachers, on next Monday, all the principal and all the teachers are going to a city, and then they're having a big conference, and then they're asking the students, what will be the headline be? What will the headline be? And most of the students, talk about the teacher, talk about the conference, but at the end of the day, the teacher said, no, the headline should be, there will be no school on Monday. And so it's kind of like teaches you to kind of look at it and really, without finding another word, really find the essence of what that what that message is, what from all this information, being able to pay attention, take it all in, and find out what's truly important to the reader, or to the reader in the case of writing a headline, or what's the most important to you after getting all this information. So that's kind of what those two chapters are talking about.
Yeah, if I may add to that escape piece, was that so in your calendar, if it is like jam-packed, or let's say in the night you think like you don't even remember anything you did, those are signs that you are just going through the motions of the day and not having enough time to pause. So do create, it doesn't have to be like 2 hours every day, but at least 15 minutes of reflection time here and there. Sneak it in and plan it so that you are not just going through the motions. So you look back and see, oh, this is all the things I've done. This is some things which were important. These are some things which I just did it because somebody asked me to, so you have the time to breathe and observe. So that you need that escape. Another way that he suggests is also to pick up some really good books to read. Like, something deep, even maybe some spiritual or classics. He has some recommendations in there. So those kind of books takes you to a different level of thinking. So we are not in the same plane of our existence and problems, but we are elevating, and again, that creates perspective. So for looking, the practical aspects of it is like journaling, because the word journaling is from the word journalist, right? So they are taking down. So you can actually make use of that tool and write down, and after a few weeks, look at the patterns, like what are you spending a lot of time on? And is it the most worthwhile thing that you wanted to do, or are there things that you're spending a lot of time on, but you could do it differently? So you get ideas.
This looking, meaning what I see that there is a subsection called big picture, right? So ultimately, the author was trying to draw our attention to the big picture. It's not looking like just take a look, take a glance. It's about understanding the environment, understanding, and I was thinking from coaching point of view that when we coach our clients. This is where meta view comes in the picture, isn't it? I was just thinking, what do you think about it? That this look chapter actually somehow is telling us coaches to, understand the the overall big picture of around the client, what is going on, and then take them somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is one thing I thought to share for us guys.
That's nice. Because I think when people also notice only that little information, like they go into problem solving mode, like we'll see that,
Yeah.
oh, today I ate a burger, oh, I should start eating healthy. Okay, like that. But then it's like a solution. But when we zoom out and look at trends, and then take a bird's eye view, or
Yeah.
like if you look at your whole life from like a plane, 30,000 feet, what are you seeing? The trends. So that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, we as coaches, we do help our clients to do that.
Yeah, and we discussed about the finding the missing piece. If you look at the big picture, then only we'll be able to, the example that you gave, right, that which day school is off. So that was the bit the teacher was trying to see if the students can catch, but they were all looking at the exact task only, and they are not looking at the big picture. So as a journalist, right? So I think finding that lead is really very important. It goes back to the first chapter of choice, right? So it is actually an exercise of making that choice to take that time, because it will never given to you. It didn't, nobody gave it to me in my whole life. So three of us are choosing to take that time out from my office is working. Everyone, all of three of us are engaged into some other things that we have chosen not to do, and chose this time to sit together, read a book, and talk about it. So this is an escape for us, and this is a choice for us. So we just need to make it. Nobody will give it to us. If that makes sense to Nayos and Anju.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just add one quick thing? So this is a practice I didn't even realize I was doing it, but I was doing it. So ever since, because my son wakes up pretty early, and I noticed at one point that I just didn't have time for myself, and something was wrong. And so I had to actually make a choice to wake up an hour before my son wakes up. So my son generally wakes up like 6 or 6:30. So I now made a point to wake up like 5 to 5:30, somewhere around there, so I can have time for myself. And that time I spend meditation, sitting there reading. It actually prepares me for my day. So when my son wakes up, I'm ready. I'm ready for my son waking up. I'm not reacting anymore. I'm taking more control and be able to be more mindful and present with him. So that's kind of something I did from learning that if the first thing I wake up to is my son calling me, demanding me to do stuff, it doesn't really set the day very well. Like it feels like I'm totally out of control for the entire day. Like entire day, like Anju said, the entire day might pass by, and then it's just all a blur. So actually starting the day with mindfulness practice actually really helped me to create that space on a daily basis.
So for you, go ahead, Rajiv. Go ahead. Yeah.
Now I was just thinking, right, from a coaching point of view, if we talk about escape, what could be the typical coaching moment for us to understand that this whole person sitting in front of us, if this escape is an issue for that person or not, right? So a question could be how our client may create a space to explore the life they want, so how so we can probably go towards that direction, that how our client might be able to create that space for them. They can say we are bored, we are empty, we are tired. So probably that could be a typical indication for us to understand that they're not having enough time for themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe just a thought.
Yeah, it could be like, like even when I was said that, we kind of are like super busy and kind of doing things on autopilot, or when we do have the time, we are again switching to some entertainment or social media. And that kind of is, I think, is a kind of a fear there, because if I sit down with that boredom, like what kind of thoughts are going to come up for me? And I need to be courageous in that moment, right? Brave to look at it and see what's coming up for me and sit with it. That requires some level of bravery, I feel, courage.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is not easy.
It's yeah, because it's very easy to look at feed because you are switched off. So now you're switching on to your internal compass.
Hey,
And
that reminded me a quote, Anju. Sorry, maybe I
share, please
interrupted you.
share, please share.
Yeah, there was a quote this author picked up in the book that from Eliot, right? So from Eliot, he took that quote. It said, "Where is the knowledge we have lost in information?" So I like that quote. It's absolutely spoke to me. Where is the knowledge that we have lost in information? So wonderful. Carry on.
Yeah, beautiful. So yeah, so that and when Nayo spoke about his morning ritual, it may not look exactly like that for everybody, right? So some people may want to start their day with their child, they enjoy that process. So it look very different for each person. So it's important for you to look deeply inside you and see that this is what I want and be happy in that thing, right? So but when the problem or whatever, the kind of discord arises when what you think it should start is not the way it started. So you feel like, okay, it's a lost case. So even that point, there's a way you can salvage the day, right? But it all starts with that awareness, that escaping and pausing
Absolutely.
and asking and looking.
Absolutely.
And it's that's the thing, right? So that's even the next two chapters about play and sleep is also the same thing, is to create that space for yourself.
So this question, what did you do as a child that excited you, and how can you recreate that today? We somehow as adult been told or educated and thought that to be smart enough, we need to get rid of these nonsenses of a child, right? And we need to show ourselves as adults. So that, I actually I don't have much to say about play. So this question tells me everything about it. Dias, go ahead, and Anju, please.
Nayo, sure, go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, no, I mean the play is it's such a, I guess it's more than play, it's about fun, right? Like what is life without fun, right?
Yeah.
You got to figure out what creates that fun feeling. If you're working and you're enjoying what you're doing, right? That's fun, right? You're living life. That's great. But if you're not, you need to realize that's not happening, right? That's not happening. And maybe you need more fun in your life. You got to figure out what play means to you. There's no one way to play, or it plays different things for everyone, right? Like, I'm gonna relate back to my son. Like, you know, think about when you're a child. What's fun? What did you do for fun? What makes you get, what makes you want to wake up in the morning? It's just my son. He just wakes up. He just want to play, right?
I think the hallmark of fun or play is that there is no expectations. Like there's nothing like an outcome that they're looking for. It is just purely in the moment, right? You are just doing it for the sake of doing it. There's nothing that you want out of it. And even like when people, the older people think of sports as sports and not play, they say, I need to beat this guy. I need to get this score. I should be able to do so many reps, or I need to reach this weight, or I should run so many kilometers. So it stops becoming play. Because you are not enjoying that feeling at that point where you are totally in flow and engrossed. And there are several studies which he quotes in the book, which shows that whenever you are more and more in that play and flow states, your work productivity, everything is going to like increase like to phenomenal levels, right? Because your brain is just primed to make these connections. And evolutionary speaking, when we were hunter-gatherers, when we were not in those moments where we had to escape or look for food or something, we were playing, there was. So if you go back to your childhood memories, think of some of these activities that you just did it for the sake of doing it, right? Like
real quickly, I was just reading my notes. So in the chapter, it talks about play is an antidote to stress, right? So stress and I'm just going to quote the book real quick. Stress increases the activity in the part of the brain that monitors emotions, while reducing activity in the parts that are responsible for cognitive function. So when you're under stress, you simply cannot think clearly. And when you play, you minimize stress, therefore helping you think better. So that's another thing that makes play so important, is because it mitigates stress.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
and if you're parents with young children and they come and ask you to do some little activity with them, and then no, I'm so busy, I'm focusing on this, I cannot. That's a beautiful opportunity where the kid is offering you on a platter when you are like figuring out 10
Yeah.
things, just
Yeah.
okay, you can create that 10-minute space with your child and do the train set or whatever,
Yeah.
and then you come back and then this starts to look much more manageable and clear, right?
Yeah.
So make use
Yeah.
of those things, right? That's the beauty of play and sleep. I think play and sleep, both of the things where it's like in the adulting world, we're like, oh, this is a waste of time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So for sleep as well. So Nayos, I love your post on sleep, which you put up on LinkedIn. So you wanna, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you're a sleep expert.
Yeah, I mean, what I wouldn't say that, but
Okay, I know when I said it, I'm like, oops,
I work on my
Naya's gonna pick
sleep.
on that.
I work on my sleep. But it's what's interesting in the book. It says if you pull all nighter, meaning if you don't sleep for 24 hours, there was a study on that. Or if you go through a whole week of sleeping only 4 or 5 hours a day, cognitively speaking, you're at 0.01% alcohol,
Blood alcohol.
blood
level,
alcohol level. Yeah, so it's like you're drunk, right? And then another thing that they point out, it's also funny, and I think so true, is that but in the workplace, if you're able to not sleep much and get to work, people cheer you on. It's like, wow, this guy,
Yeah.
he's a trooper, man. This guy's get things done, man. He's really tough. But no one ever talks about anyone, but you don't give positive credit for someone that comes to work drunk, right? Like, oh yay, you come to work drunk again, right? Oh, you're drunk today again. Okay. No one claps at that. So, but it's the same thing, right? That your brain's functioning at that same level, like coming in like after you drink alcohol versus not getting enough sleep. So I think a lot of people just don't realize that. And I think the sooner we can shift that mindset, the better. It's not in the book, but there's another study about sleep deprivation. So if you lose, I think the study was done in the US because of the daylight savings. You actually lose an hour of sleep. So that's kind of like how they did that study. There was a ton of data, but they talk about how you wake up almost like diabetic. Because you're like you're functioning like type 2 diabetic, like your brain is just foggy, and also you just naturally crave for more processed junk food versus making choices for healthier food. There's a lot of things that can happen when you lose sleep, when you're like not getting enough sleep.
And he talks about protecting the asset. So that is your mind, right? So sleep is one of the main things which is protecting your asset. So if exercise, not exercise, if you want to see it as movement, whatever it is, eating well, all these are protecting your assets. Because if you are not functioning optimally, of how are you going to make the highest contribution in the world? How are you going to actually figure out what is that important thing if you're cognitively not able to? So this is like your investment.
100%. Also, I want to challenge anyone that says, oh, I've been sleeping 4 or 5 hours for the past 20 years. I've been doing just fine. I would challenge you this. Like, why don't you start sleeping more and think about how much more you can achieve, or how much more quality of your work that you can be doing. Don't believe me? That's fine. Why don't you just try the experiment and just see what happens? You have nothing to lose, right? You have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so can we talk a bit about the last part, which is the select?
Yeah, sure.
So setting that selection criteria becomes pretty important, right? Like when will you say yes to certain things and when do you say no to certain things? And what makes you say yes? So let's say, are you going to be open to certain opportunities because, 1, 2, 3, you basically create those parameters and variables and metrics for yourself. There's no one right answer, right?
Yeah, it should just always be an ongoing discovery of what works for you as an individual.
Yeah.
This applies to all aspects of life. I mean, exercise, for example, right? So many different ways to exercise. What's the best exercise though? The best one is actually the one you enjoy doing, right? There's no best exercise. If you hate it and you do it all the time, you might get the physical benefits, but mentally you're killing yourself, right? So at the end of the day, it's just about exploration, about taking notes, being mindful. We'll connect that to mindful again. Being mindful of what you enjoy doing, what you want to keep in your life that can support your health, both physically and mentally.
Yeah. So when you have those criteria, what he's saying is you will end up saying no to 90% of things that come your way. And whatever the 10% you're going to say yes to, you have the bandwidth to really do them well, to the best of your abilities.
Go back to the 90% rule, because I think people who are watching, they don't really know what that is, right?
Yeah.
The 90% rule is it's basically you're grading these opportunities, right? You're assigning a score to it. Unless it has a score of 90, you basically don't even touch it. Right? That's essentially what that is. And he gave examples about candidates that's interviewing for a job. So if everyone assigned them a 90% score, then yes, he can move on to the next step. And he was saying something about he was saying like there are some candidates are like a 6.5 or 7, and then we need to figure out if they move on to the next one or not. And then that's when it came to the realization is like, no, 65. If you get a 65% score in a test, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing at all, right? It should just automatically be a no. So that's kind of where this 90% rule that Anju just mentioned is about. Just in the adult workplace, I guess you have to really think about what is important to the company, right? Figuring that part out first, and then all these different projects that comes to the surface, then you can decide which projects to take on based on these criteria. So I think they mentioned that, they also mentioned that in the book about setting these criteria, whatever they are for the workplace that you work at, right? And what's really cool is that in the book, the example that they gave is that once you set these criteria in place, even a newcomer, not someone that's not even tenured in the company, can question decisions that are being made because these criteria are in place.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and he also talks about this
practice.
Analogy of your closet, right? Like, are you going to crowd it out with everything in there, or are you going to only have the pieces that you really are wearing and you like wearing?
A bunch of maybe I'll wear this one day. I might need
it.
Versus, versus I really love this. Kind of like you got to Marie Kondo.
Yeah.
We're gonna Marie Kondo that.
But the funny part I found out about her is like then she's selling all these spoons and all that stuff on her website. I'm like, throw away all your old spoons, just now buy my spoons.
Only.
Anyway.
The essential spoons. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So that brings us to the end of part 2.
What's that?
So Rajiv, go ahead. Yeah.
No, just saying that summary is he's saying in your mind, if you don't hear it is not a clear yes, that means it is a clear no. So he's giving us that indication that ask your mind, is it telling you it is a clear yes? And then you go for it. If it is not, there is doubts, there are criteria as Nayas was explaining, then it's a clear no. He's drawing the line there, right?
Yeah. There's almost like no middle grounds. Either clear yes or it's a no.
Yeah.
But I would suggest our listeners to go through the book. There are examples given in a wonderful way. There are a couple of examples I really liked. some of the, how to differentiate those criterias, how to differentiate the opportunity from, what is the minimum criteria, what is the extreme criteria, and all those. So I think these are good tools to, work it in our mind and understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, this whole thing is like a continual improvement process, right? There is no right answer. There's no wrong answer. You're going to try, you're going to tweak, and you're going to have some, failures, whatever we think as failures. There's also going to be a lot of learning.
Absolutely.
And then we'll reiterate. So just
Yeah.
have fun with that process.
For coaches, I think for coaches, the question could be what if they are giving us options from coaching point of view, we can ask this question like, how does that serve you, right? So selecting. So I'm telling them to select. We are as a coach, we are encouraging.
We are helping them to connect to their real values. What are their values? What are their strengths? And what is the meaning and purpose? So from there, that becomes their selection criteria to see, how is it serving your needs or values,
Yeah, there was a question I heard from somebody that whenever there's those options coming, then as a coach, we can ask, how would you celebrate that? So that gives a very positive, very wonderful question, as well as pushing them harder to actually think, would I celebrate this or not? So it's a very powerful question. I love that question. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you were like having that doubt area, you wouldn't exactly gonna celebrate
right?
that outcome, right?
Yeah. That's a wonderful question.
Totally. Okay, with that celebratory note, let's wrap this up. And thank you so much to the both of you to spend this wonderful afternoon with me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.